Welcome to the WARSURGE Quick Start Extra Details video. I'm Nicholas.
And I'm Richard. Here we will explain aspects of the game that aren't covered in the Quick Start Basics video.
Transports and Fire Points. Transports and Fire Points are two stats that we mentioned in the Quick Start Basics video. They allow units to act as vehicles or carriers of other units, and even let the passenger units attack while being relocated across the battlefield.
Transport. This stat is how many points worth of units the transport unit can carry. For example, a unit that has a transport of 300 could carry a unit worth 100 points and also a unit worth 200 points. While inside a transport, the passenger unit is safe from being attacked, but they cannot target anything outside the transport.
Fire Points. This stat allows a unit that is inside the transport unit to attack. The attacking unit measures from the transport unit itself, as if the transport itself was attacking. The drawback is that the unit inside the transport can be targeted if the transport is attacked in a melee.
Embarking and disembarking a transport. When a unit wants to embark a transport, position at least one model of a unit into contact with the transport. This can be done with a move, dash, or even a perk such as blink. Embarking units do not have to be placed inside the transport model itself, but players are welcome to do so if they are able. When a unit wants to disembark, all models of the unit will measure from the transport itself, then make a move or dash from the transport.
Example: in pictures A and B, a unit of troopers are embarking a Ursus APC. In A, one model in the trooper unit makes contact with the Ursus APC. In B, the whole unit has embarked the Ursus APC.
In picture C, a unit is disembarking a transport unit.
Movement of passengers, transports, and weapons. When transport units have fire points, they allow any embarked passengers to attack from the transport. Due to weapon types, the passenger units need to factor any movement they made as well as the transport unit itself. If either the unit or transport has made a move, the passengers cannot use heavy weapons, and likewise, if the passenger unit or transport unit has attacked with battle weapons, the transport cannot dash.
Transports within transports. WARSURGE allows transports to embark other transports. A transport needs to have a high enough transport stat to carry other transport units. You do not need to factor any passenger units already in an embarking transport. However, you cannot keep creating layers of transports within transports. You may have the outer transport who is carrying one or more transports, then the passenger units of those transports.
In the picture, we have a hangar A, hunter battle car B, and unit C, consisting of two models, an arsonist and a puncher. The hangar is a transport which can carry one hunter car. The hunter car is also a transport that is carrying unit C.
Casualties and Transports. When a transport with passengers is removed as a casualty, any embarked units are placed where the transport was.
If the passengers take up more space than the transport, place the other passenger models in an expanding circle where the transport unit was. If the passenger is only one model, still place it centrally from where the transport unit was.
Traversing the battlefield and terrain. In the first Quick Start video, we instructed players to decorate the battlefield. This can enrich games of WARSURGE and add extra detail for gameplay.
When setting up the battlefield, players can define terrain pieces and surfaces as a type of ground, which affects units that pass through it. There are three different types.
Difficult ground. This slows the movement of units that pass through it by 1/3, with a minimum reduction of 1 inch. For example, this makes 6 inches of move or dash become 4 inches.
The unit of Legionnaires can move 9 inches. The barbed wire and stones slow movement by 1/3. The models with the red X had to move 6 inches. The models with the green tick went around the difficult ground and could move their full distance. Dangerous ground. When entering this ground, the unit takes damage. This can be represented with a weapon profile agreed to by the players. Ground can be both difficult and dangerous if desired.
Impassable ground. This cannot be traversed by any unit unless it has a movement perk that allows it to do so. All units count as impassable ground. The Revenge Wing Bike, indicated with a black arrow, can't move into the red areas which are blocked by other units or impassable ground. There's a tall, giant rock blocking the path.
Coherency and vertical surfaces. When traversing terrain that goes vertically, keeping unit coherency can sometimes be a challenge. When measuring for coherency across vertical surfaces, such as buildings and platforms, the distance is 6 inches instead of 2.
The Legionnaires are spread upon several floors of a tower, but are obeying 6-inch vertical coherency. If a model becomes a casualty and breaks coherency, you still restore coherency as normal. Cover area. Players can designate areas such as ruins, debris, and forests as cover area. This means that any units within the area will receive a +1 defense bonus like they are in cover, even if 50% of the unit isn't 50% covered. The intention is that the cover area allows units to duck, dive, or hide behind an object at a moment's notice.
Obscured sight, targeting, and casualties. Although terrain can help create immersion, it can at times make it ambiguous or difficult to determine which models of a unit are visible. Players look from the perspective of their models to determine which targets can be seen and attacked. Models from the same unit or attached to the same unit do not count for blocking line of sight to a target. When targeting a unit, the base of a model counts as part of the model.
Obscured by rocks, the Dwarf Engineer and Warriors of Wrath can still see each other and therefore target each other. If a unit is attacking an enemy unit and they cannot see all the models, the attacker can only cause casualties to the models they can see. For example, in the diagram, the models labelled 7 and 8 cannot become casualties as the attacking unit does not have any models that can see them. If a unit cannot see any models of a unit, they cannot attack them, even if they are in range.
Targeting and line of sight example. In the diagram, a unit of dead dogs, A, and a heavy flamer car, B, can target a unit of Fomorian gut hackers, C. They measure to the closest model, which targets the whole unit. Each dead dog model measures from its base, while the flamer car, which does not have a base, will instead measure from the model's body itself. Each model measures to the closest model in the gut hacker's unit.
The solid black or blue lines indicate a clear shot. The faded blue lines are through a member of their own unit, which has no effect on targeting. Model 1 has a red line as its weapon is out of range and cannot attack the gut hackers, even though it can still see them.
Full attack dice chart. In the first quick start video, we had a partial attack dice chart to compare power and defense. In WARSURGE, power goes up to 20 and defense goes up to 15.
When a player needs to roll something such as 6/6/5, this requires a series of rolls. Each attack dice must first get a 6, then pick up the dice that were 6 and roll again to get another 6. Next, pick up those 6s, then roll again. The dice that result in a 5+ will become saves for the opponent to roll.
When power is very high, it can cause automatic damage, and even multiply it with ×2, ×3, ×4, or more. The attacking player in this case does not roll attack dice, but counts up all of the attacks, then multiplies it by the number listed. For example, 10 attacks with A × 3 becomes 30 instead. We then move on to rolling saves, where the opposing player would need to roll 30 saves instead of 10.
Equal power and defense is always a 4+ to succeed. Each difference of 1 causes the dice to change by 1. For example, power and defense of 5 requires a 4+. However, If the power is increased to 6, which is a difference of +1, the required roll improves from a 4+ to a 3+.
Dice modifiers to attack dice. Dice modifiers occur when battle and heavy weapons are used in a melee, -1 for battle and -2 for heavy, and are used by several perks. Dice modifiers lower or raise the chance of a dice roll's success. Dice modifiers can increase an attack dice to go to a maximum of 2+, unless it is already A on the chart, and decrease to a minimum of 6/6/6. Negative modifiers against A will lower to be a 2+, and so forth, but any existing attack dice damage multipliers, such as ×2, will still apply. An example of -1 to an attack dice would lower a 4+ to being a 5+, while a +1 would raise a 4+ to a 3+.
Perks. Perks are special rules or upgrades to units and weapons. When and how they are used depends on the nature of the perk itself. The playstyle of the game also influences how perks are used. Basically, a playstyle is how to play WARSURGE. In Standard, we use the phases discussed in the Quick Start Basics video. Advanced is a skirmish style play, which we shall discuss in detail with the next Quick Start video.
Standard playstyle. In Standard, perks are used by a unit once per game turn. Any number of perks can be used by a unit before and/or after any action, such as deploy, move, attack, or dash. If a unit wants to use a perk but does not wish to make an action, they may still use the perk. Advanced playstyle. For advanced games, the use perk action allows a unit to use all their perks at once. Perks can be activated multiple times in a single game turn.
Activating perks. When you browse a perk in the WARSURGE app, at the start of the description there are one or more keywords that indicate how to activate the perk. Here is a list of the keywords. Activate. The perk is used at the player's discretion. Ether. To activate the perk, the user must pass an ether test. Roll 2d6 and add them together, then refer to the following. If the result is equal to 9 or lower, the perk can be used. If the result is equal to 10 or higher, the perk cannot be used. If the result is 2, the perk effect or stat bonus is doubled. If the result is 12, the user suffers d6 HP loss with no saves allowed.
Attack dice. The perk activates if any of the weapon's attack dice are successful, but before rolling saves. Auto test. If a weapon has automatic A for attack dice, it still has to roll a dice to see if the perk activates. For example, a weapon with precision 3+ and automatic damage, a dice roll of 3+ is needed to activate the perk. Casualty. A unit needs to be a casualty for the perk to activate. D6. The perk is activated with a successful dice roll specified in the brackets. For example, 4+.
End of turn. The perk's effects occur at the end of the current game turn and continues into the next game turn. End of phase step. The perk's effects occur at the end of the current phase in standard games. In advanced games, this is after an action has ended. HP loss. The perk takes effect when the target has lost HP. Immediate. The perk's effects occur immediately. Instruct. If the perk is active and controlling an enemy player's unit, the enemy player will move the miniatures on behalf of the player using this perk. Leader. The perk requires the Leader or War Master perk to be equipped on the unit. Limited use. This perk can only be used a number of times per game as indicated by the bracketed number. If activation fails, it does not count as used. Linked profile. The unit or weapon needs to be linked to one or more units or weapons with the same perk. The profiles must have their full point cost within 10% of each other. For example, a unit profile worth 100 points must link with another profile that is between 90 and 110 points, including equipped weapons.
Mastery test. Roll a d6 of 4+ to activate the unit perk. Melee. The perk can only be used when the unit is engaged in a melee. Passive. The perk is always in effect and does not need to be activated. The benefit is always present. Point cost. This perk can only be used against a target if the point cost requirement is met. The bracket will say lesser or greater. Lesser means that a target must be worth less points. Greater means that the target must be higher in point cost. Remember that the point cost of units will change as they lose HP. Radius. The perk has an area of effect, which is a distance around the unit in all directions. This distance will be in the brackets. Single model. The perk requires the unit to be a single model. Skill test. Roll a d6 of 4+ to activate the weapon perk. Specific. The perk will become active when certain conditions are met. For example, a perk may require a unit to be attacked or be on the battlefield for a number of game turns. This is described in detail in a perk's description. Weapon use. The perk takes effect when using the weapon.
Expanding with the core rules. The core rules has more information than this quick guide. If you find yourself in a situation that you are unsure of, have a look at the core rules for the solution.
Remember, the most important rule is to have fun with this game.
See you on the battlefield!